Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. It's another movie edition, kids.
Woo!
Now, I feel like Wonder Man in this because we have, just three great ladies with me. And yeah, I feel like I'm definitely going to be the descending opinion, I think.
Dissenting. And there is a Wonder Man, so it's okay.
It was really bad. Yeah.
No, there's a character.
Yeah. They did that when they were trying to do all the reversal characters.
Dane of Elysium. He's like Earth 150 something or other.
Oh, that version. I thought you were talking about the 70s version. Let's get back to that. Just a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm Dub, and we are talking about the movie Wonder Woman. If you haven't seen it, or you're planning on seeing it, put us on pause. Go watch the movie. Come back in 3.5 hours, and then you can come.
2.5 grump face.
2.5.
But you got to stick around for the credits, so I put that in there too. Yeah.
It's not an hour of credits.
No. Never mind.
That's because you're a boy.
That has nothing to do absolutely nothing to do with it. Girl number one on the show, Courtney, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm outstanding. I'm actually looking forward to talking a little comic book Wonder Woman history, which a lot of the reviewers are stupid and they didn't understand that. As hard as I'm going to be on the movie,
it's just that they're not aware of the comic books.
As hard as I'm going to be on the movie, I think that there's a lot of things that people got wrong that they wanted to complain about. Yeah. But it was very an uneducated look at things. Okay.
And we're going to teach you all about it.
Yep. And directly below Courtney, we have Miss Satomi. How are you doing today?
In a spandex tights, fighting for your rights. I'm doing so good. I love me some Wonder Woman. I love it so much. I can't wait to talk about it. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh, wow. I might just sit back. Yeah. And next up, we have Miss the Cheeky Chi. How are you doing today, Christina?
Little rushed, but really excited to talk about this. So, yay.
Yeah. Okay. So this movie, let's start off with the ugly on the internet. Has not woke up to the greatest of reviews. Some people have loved it, and some people have hated it. I'm kind of in the middle. I thought the first movie was absolute perfection, and that's a very hard hill to climb up off of. So with that being said, we'll get to some of my complaints later, but I don't think this movie was the crap fest that a lot of the internet likes to think it is. Fair enough?
Yeah, I think
it's not a perfect movie by any stretch.
I think the reviews are mixed.
They are. Yeah, it's either
There's
people are loving it or
ones
hating
that love it or hating it. So,
and I'm fairly
more love than not.
And I
think so too.
I'm fairly certain I haven't loved or hated anything based on the opinion of the internet. So.
Oh no, I don't think you should be getting your opinions off of the internet.
True that.
Yeah, this is why I usually don't read opinions, but it was kind of everywhere. For the last couple of days. So Merry Christmas, guys.
I didn't see all the poo-pooing that you saw. So I
saw some.
I saw a little, but not a lot.
You're smart and you don't read the comment sections much, do you?
No, I
don't read the comment section because I usually don't see what people say.
Yeah. And people are we can do a whole show on comment sections, but let's just say that I just generally choose to ignore them.
Fair enough.
I'm with Satomi on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that I've definitely developed my own opinion on this. I think Courtney developed the opinion she was gonna have on this no matter what. And I think that Satomi and Christina are probably somewhere in between us both, I think. I think that'd be a fair assumption. I don't know.
I think Satomi's more on my side on this.
It's not a side. This isn't a winning and losing thing. If you like the movie, I'm glad you did. It's not. I don't do that. Sorry. That's not fun. Okay, so let's talk about the movie in general. First things first, it's long. It's 2.5 hours. Now, this is something that a lot of us can agree on. 2 hours and 26 minutes. Call me a liar for 4 minutes. With that being said, I think that they could have very comfortably knocked off 45 minutes of this movie, and it would be a better
I
movie.
think 45 is an
That's a
exaggeration.
lot. Yes, I have to agree with that. I think they could
I-
have knocked off like 15.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
I would say
slow.
about 15.
It's
some of
pretty
the
slow.
some of the scenes could have been trimmed, but I don't. And I mean, there were a couple that I saw that we didn't really need, but 45 seems like an awful lot.
I actually do think. I mean, if we're gonna hit this, let's
Let's
get
hit it
into
running.
the nitty gritty here. So if you're gonna talk about female versus male perspective on this one spent a lot more time on story, on character development, on personal interaction. Now, granted, there were a couple moments, like we were just saying, that I was like, this needs to be tightened up. We didn't need to watch Chris Pine stare out the window for 45 seconds. I mean, and I'm exaggerating with 45 seconds, but still,
Yeah.
there were things that really could have been tighter. But as for me, one of the reasons that I love these kinds of movies is because the storytelling is so great, and it was so nice to actually not just have it be an action fest, but really like get into some of those nitty gritty interpersonal relationships with men
Yes.
that I cried like 3 times in this thing and was like, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying I'm not putting y'all down. I love my men. I do.
Yeah.
But there just might be a little bit of a shift in perspective, and you're talking Patty Jenkins, who's a female director, bringing that female perspective to an action
Genre.
film genre, yes, and just I think adding a little. I will. Let's bookmark this. I'll compare it to something else after we're done.
Okay, and I'm not gonna spend all day comparing it to the first movie, because I do think the first movie was absolute perfection, and yes, they're obviously two very different movies. But I do think that they should have taken a page from that, of what was so successful about that first movie. That's my big issue.
What page is that?
Huh?
What page?
Yeah.
is
What
that?
do you feel that they missed the mark on?
Yeah.
Honestly, the pacing is the big thing on it, because I mean I had trouble. I forced myself to stay awake several times in this movie, because it was, to me, it just felt very, very, very dragged out.
Wow.
It didn't have enough of those. You got to have that action beat, and it just
Okay,
didn't have it.
but see, that's the difference between Wonder Woman and all the other superheroes. And I think to a certain extent, especially with CGI, we've kind of lost that heart. We expect every superhero to solve something based on action and fists and weaponry. And she has this amazing ability to see into the hearts of humanity. And we would have missed that if they had just put action after action after action. That's what makes her amazing. She's a demigod, for goodness sakes.
Okay.
Only recently has she been a demigod.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of like the older version, but that's just me.
But I mean, regardless of that or not, whether she's a demigod or not, or she's Zeus's daughter or not, she has always been that way. That is Wonder Woman. And I mean, I think Gail Simone, I know that not everybody enjoys her, but I mean, she did write for Wonder Woman for years. She consulted on the first one, and she consulted on this one. I know she did, but I mean, she said it right. She said she watched it and loved it, and she made the comment that the movie shows the world what Wonder Woman fans have always known, that Wonder Woman is unlike any other superhero there is out there.
Truth.
And it's absolutely true. And I think that's where Patty Jenkins was trying to go with this, was to show, because I mean, the other thing you have to realize, and I don't think a lot of people do, is Jeff Johns helped write the script.
That was actually something I was going to bring up. And that is part of the problem, because Jeff Johns, who is one of my top 5 writers in history, he writes for comic books, which means he's really good at taking a subject and let's drag it out a little bit. Okay, let's drag it out a little bit more here so we have another issue. Let's drag it out. And I could definitely feel that in this, because the movie writing is different from comic. Now, this could have gotten away easier as a series, because it could have had some of those longer beats that it's having. And as I say, this is the thing that I'm gonna tear down this movie about is because it was just the beats I don't feel were
to you.
they
it
were
felt
too placed
long.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of other people, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But
As
not.
in-
And I
and
mean,
I'm
we
not
all
saying
agree-
I'm not
no,
saying anybody's
we're
wrong.
not-
I'm saying
but we're
that
not disagreeing. I mean, we said, there are moments that it could be trimmed. My only disagreement is when you say 45 minutes. But I do. I mean, there's stuff that could have been trimmed out and
Like the
smoothed
fireworks
out.
scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of
Yeah.
things. Well, I don't think we needed Barbara going to the gym.
no. That could have been trimmed down a lot.
Yeah, I felt like that was a wasted scene. We could have had the scene where she was out running, and that's how we know she's got her.
And I will say
powers.
this: I think she was brilliant in that role, Kristen Wiig. I think she was brilliant in that role. Unfortunately, with a bit of this is part of the Jeff Johns writing philosophy. Every time you see her, she gets a little bit worse, and it's a very obvious jump every time you see her. And that's something I wish that's just a personal issue with me. I think she was brilliant in the role, but I did not like the way that kind of went
I
so fast.
I think my issue was not that, and I don't
And the
think it's Jeff
crackhead
Johns.
makeup at the end.
Yeah, I don't think it was Jeff Johns. I don't think that was that. I think what the problem is I think it suffered from. This is one of the flaws that I had with it. Is I think it suffered from the multiple villain issues. If you think about it, any superhero movie that has come out lately,
Doesn't
if there
work.
are multiple villains, there seems to be a problem getting enough attention on each villain. And in this particular case, while I loved Pedro Pascal as Max Lord, because he was just having the best time, you could tell, and he was really, really good. Cheetah, we needed more Cheetah being Cheetah.
More Cheetah, less Max Lord.
And the thing is the only reason I say that is because Cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's
rival.
biggest nemesises ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's her and Circe. So we needed more Cheetah being Cheetah, I think. But I think that was a case of multiple villain. I call it multiple villain syndrome. I just made that up. But it's whenever there's more than one villain in these superhero movies, there tends to be a focus placed on one, and then the other one is kind of like an afterthought. It's like that one Spider-Man movie where we got 3, and I can't even remember who the 3 were because they were so chopped up and minimalized because there was so much to try to get them all in there.
Yeah. And they're both great villains. And the same thing that's happened with the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
You can have one villain and you can have, and Spider-Man's done this well. Usually, they'll have a second villain, but it's a very minor role.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really make a difference to the story, but it's definitely fan service. And I think that is a big problem with that. You should have either had Cheetah or Max Lord, and I think Cheetah would have been the better answer to, and I didn't like the changing of her backstory and all that, but that's the comic.
She's had 4 different backstories, and there have been 3 different Cheetahs. So we can't really get mad about that.
Not upset. Everybody has theirs.
But this is actually one of her backstories.
It was one? Okay.
It's one of her backstories.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a bigger problem with changing Max's backstory, so.
Yeah. He was, for the villain that Max Lord is, he definitely was too good. Max Lord has never been a misunderstood villain. He's a Lex Luthor. He is not misunderstood. He is bad. He was definitely sympathetic.
I'm going to chime in just as someone who's actually not familiar with the comic books. I grew up on the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Linda Carter is my Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Although Gal Gadot, yes, I'm down. I'm on board. But for me, since I didn't know any of the other backstories existed, I do see your point, Court, of multiple villains, but at the same time, I was not bothered by it. I still enjoyed the ride very much, and I felt like I could follow both of their stories. As far now, on the one hand, I'm a little bummed because she gave up her cheetah-ness, or actually they left that sort of questionable.
I was gonna bring that. Yeah. She never denounced her.
Yeah, I was sort of waiting for it, but she was no longer the cheat. So anyhow,
in the comic books, just Satomi for you, in the comic books, there are versions of Cheetah where she can change at will.
Okay.
So she can be Barbara Minerva or she can be Cheetah. So they
Okay.
may be leaving it open
And she's been an
I was
Amazonian.
wondering
and she's
for
about
that. Yeah.
That's my
yeah.
version.
Yeah. So
But I mean, with Max Lord, I also loved, and it's back with the Wonder Woman theme, is, you know, she's really about compassion and understanding and really looking at, you know, the roots of the issue and resolving things by trying, you know, using our words first before we have to start hitting, and no guns. We're not, you know, they can't control themselves, don't hurt them. Which I thought was such a pivotal moment.
Yes.
So for me, I actually enjoyed that the villains were just, it's not that they were misunderstood, it's that, you know, their choices just led them down a bad path and they just couldn't seem to stop. And you know, I'm a big fan of redemption stories, so it definitely got me at the end.
yeah.
Fair enough.
You know,
I think I just wanted a little bit more Cheetah just because I was
Right.
I'm wondering if there's, because they've already ordered the third film, so you know that may very well be where they're going.
I think that's it. And I will say that I am not a huge fan of Kristen Wiig, and I was little concerned.
Me too. But
When
I thought
they
she was good on
cast her, I thought she was wonderful.
Yeah.
And like for me to say that, like seriously, I'm not a fan. I don't dislike her. She's not my favorite. But I have to say, I thought she was really good as Cheetah, as both Barbara and then as Cheetah. So I'm a fan now.
Yeah.
It was nice seeing her do something relatively serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think she had it in her when I saw that. I thought Cheetah was going to be kind of a bit part when I saw it was her. I thought she was going to be the comic relief more than anything.
Yeah, no,
she wasn't. Yeah.
She did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Okay. I liked it.
I feel like to a certain degree, Max Lord was more of a little bit of the comic relief.
Yeah,
in some of those littler scenes, like with his ears and his nose and some of the problems he was having, I actually got giggles a couple of times.
What is it with AIDS and Porsches?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of those comic moments, and DC always has a problem hitting comic moments in movies, and I don't know why. They just don't do it well.
Figured it out yet.
And I wish they would. Yeah. And yes, the AIDS and Porsches was good, but other than that, it didn't really have that heart of underneath funny that Marvel does do so well.
Right.
You know, I mean, the way they screwed up Green Lantern on that, I mean, I don't think they're gonna have much faith on this. But with that being said, yeah, I think on this one you guys will probably disagree. I think the weakest part of the movie, honestly, was Steve Trevor coming back. I understand why they did it. I did not like him in this at all, and I loved him in the first movie. I didn't like it. I felt I still haven't been able to put my finger on what it is I didn't like about it, but it's like every time he'd come on, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm done. And that's me. But that to me was the weakest part. And I can start talking positive stuff after this. But that was my. I know everybody loves Chris Pine.
Okay. I am going to chime in. I for one, and I apologize if I offend anybody. It's nothing, no judgment against them. I for one did not find any of the men attractive in this film. That's just for my taste.
They definitely made that happen too.
Every
guy was a pig.
Well, I mean, you have to also admit that was very much part of the 80s culture.
That's the 80s.
It was very much, having lived through it and experienced it, that was very much part of the 80s culture.
Yeah.
I was 4 when it started, so that's kind of hard for me.
But even that being said, even though they were not to me personally attractive, and I'm not one of those women who reads romance novels. I am not somebody who swoons. I'm just, giving this perspective. I absolutely adored that relationship. I absolutely loved that he came back. I loved that as soon as that happened, it was like, oh, you knew something was going to happen because he's in somebody else's body. So already the stakes are kind of raised, and definitely when they part, I mean, oh God. got me right there.
Mhm.
So, speaking as a female who's not all ooh, I was still very much taken.
Well,
Mhm.
another problem I had with this, and they didn't do it in the first movie, but they did in this. She was very much the swooning girlfriend. That just didn't seem like Wonder Woman to me.
I don't think she was
And I think
swooning.
that was the
I
problem.
think she was heartbroken. Okay. I'm still going to call you on this.
Okay.
How
Do
many
it.
movies are
Do it.
out there with men who have that flame, that one that got away, that whatever, and 30 years later he's still getting drunk over her, and the entire movie rests
I didn't
on
say
that.
I like any of those
And
either.
why can't a female have that?
I think
I'm gonna-
neither of them
Little
should do it
heartbreak.
because it's.
I'm going to say this, and I said it before, and this is probably going to open a can of worms, but Satomi, I agree with you, because what we forgive in Steve Rogers in Endgame, we are vilifying Diana Prince for
Thank you.
in this movie.
Yep.
Because we let
Yep.
him moon about Peggy
Yes.
for
yes.
22 films.
Preach it, sister. Preach it.
And then when he goes to take the stones back, and I love that ending. Don't get me wrong. I love him going back to Peggy. That's what I love. But what we forgive him in that movie, for some reason, people are vilifying Diana for making the exact same choice.
Because it's never been her character. My
It is
opinion.
her character, though, because she says it when she says it in their apartment, and I think this is what some people are getting. And your opinion is valid, but this is one of my arguments for it. She says it in her apartment. I have never asked for anything for myself in my entire existence. She has given and given and given, and the only thing that she ever wanted, and the only thing that she knew instantly what she would wish for, was to have him back with her so they could have more time. It's the only thing she's ever asked for, and that is Wonder Woman's nature. She never asks for anything for herself. She gives back to the world because she knows that is why she's there.
Right.
And she gives him back. She knows she has to do it, but for one brief moment, we can't let her say, no, I'm not going to.
I will say, I know you. I do. I definitely give you the crown. You are the Wonder Woman expert. You know more about Wonder Woman, but that's not how I ever read her. That's not that's not the impression I ever felt from her. So,
right, but then fundamentally we go back and we're faulting a hero for having human emotions, and she's lived among us for decades and decades, and he was her first love. He was the first man she ever met, and she saw him with honor, and he was everything that she thought humanity was. So of course, if she has that moment, she's not going to want to give it up. It is going to be, it had to hurt. It had to hurt for it to work.
mm-hmm.
And the thing is, we all know going in watching it, whether we're comic book readers or Linda Carter fans or just Gal Gadot is our very first experience with Wonder Woman, we all know in going in, she's going to give him up.
Yeah.
Because she's going to make the choice to save humanity instead of be selfish. And so it's coming. So for that brief moment where there's another way, we as the audience need to let her have that moment and not judge her for it. Because if we were in that position, I feel we would probably all think the same thing.
Yeah, I've been married for 27 years, and you can bet your sweet tushy that I would do everything I could to find the other way.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen some people say in their critiques that I find it hard to believe that she didn't find love at some point in time in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, or the 80s. Yes, she may have found someone to be with, but Steve Trevor is her great love, just like Peggy is Steve's.
Yep.
Clark Kent's her best love ever. I'm sorry.
And I
think
that would make more sense.
Well, I think that's where
Hopefully
we're going
coming.
for.
I hope so.
But we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Okay. Now where I want to go, and now we can start talking about things that I think we can universally like about this movie, some of the really cool parts. But first, I want to get into Courtney is going to educate some of y'all.
I just did.
there's some of the critiques that are coming out of people that just do not understand the character. For instance, people are griping that Wonder Woman can fly. Since what year was the first year?
1958. Wonder Woman has been able to fly.
Did you watch if you watched the Justice League cartoon, she flew then. If you read any of the comics, she flew then. So stop with that one.
Now, Linda Carter, she did not fly.
No.
They didn't have her fly in there, but
technology
Wonder Woman being able to fly, it's not a new thing. It wasn't created for this movie. She's been flying since 1958. The other thing that I saw that there was a critique about was her taking off the tiara in the mall scene and throwing it and boomeranging the things. That was done in homage to the Linda Carter version.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't while she doesn't do that all that often in the comics, that was done as an homage to the Linda Carter version. So that's why that was done. It's not like it was just thrown in there to just make fanboys sad.
I think if you're a fanboy, you get most of these issues.
Yeah.
I say,
I am
a fanboy, so I mean.
Yeah. And the other one that I saw that had me, one was the flying with the Superman poses. What kind of poses are you supposed to do when you fly?
Show the butt, I guess.
Like how is she supposed to fly that she's going to end up looking at some point in time like Superman when he flies? We don't complain about Supergirl doing the same poses or Power Girl doing the same poses, so let's not complain about Wonder Woman doing them.
I'm not going to say
the other thing, the final thing that I saw is that someone made a comparison, or several people I've seen made a comparison to her using the lasso. It was just her being like Spider-Man. No, that's how the lasso is used.
There was definite similarities, though.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I like the version, the lasso version only. But the whip
Wonder Woman's been doing it longer than Spider-Man, so we could say that Spider-Man is copying Wonder Woman. But there's your little all those things that may have stuck out as weird to you guys. They are comic book based, so it's understandable if you're not a comic book person that you didn't know that they were. So there's your clear up. Either way, there you go.
And if that was your only complaints, stop talking on the internet.
You can still talk on the internet. Just know we're going to call you out on it.
Yeah. Okay, so some of the very cool things that I thought, I was in love with the way they did the invisible jet in this. They made it make sense. Just that I never thought of that as the way they did that, and they did, and I thought it was perfect.
I agree.
And that was the one little comic bit they got right with the coffee cup.
Yes.
I haven't found it. I just died. I thought that was hilarious.
Yep.
And what's great is that that jet was really the same shape that it's always been. Like they really nailed it.
Yeah, I thought that was a very nice touch.
I literally screamed. I said invisible jet because I was so happy for a minute.
Now
my little 7-year-old self was like
Now, I do have a question, though. A, why were they keeping a jet completely fueled up behind the Smithsonian? And B, even if they were, does that really have enough fuel to get all the way to Egypt?
Comic books.
Okay. So I was like, is this just a suspend the disbelief kind of moment?
There's a few of those.
I mean, that was literally the first thing I said when he started pushing buttons. I'm like, there's going to be enough fuel in that thing? Because they're going to leave it because that actually is the overflow to the Air and Space Museum in Chantilly, Virginia. And but I'm sitting there going, so they're going to leave those completely gassed up behind the museum with the capability of somebody taking them. And then somebody made a comment to me about that when I mentioned that to them, and then about being able to fly all the way to Cairo. They just made the jet invisible. Maybe we should just not focus on that.
Yeah, that.
So I went, good point.
Well,
they could have explained it away. They could have said, part of the invisibility power makes it so it's cutting through the wind or something stupid like that. But I don't care about that. That's kind of stuff that I never care about.
They could have just stopped at Exxon and fueled up.
Yeah,
that's what they did.
That's the same kind of fueling everything. I'm trying not to be Blythe right now. I'm trying not to be Blythe right now.
Yeah, I had the same thoughts.
Don't be Blythe.
So told me, I
Don't
was
be
like, is there enough gas in that thing?
Okay, something else that I loved, honestly, and when I first saw it on the preview, I was concerned, but I loved the Amazonian Olympics thing. I
Oh,
thought
right.
that was
Oh, you mean
that was
the
a great
proving?
touch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
was
thought that was
such
great.
a proving moment. Yes,
Yeah.
wonderful.
And apparently that little girl is doing a lot of that stuff.
She's a bad.
According to
She did.
Patty Jenkins,
Yeah.
she did a lot. Like almost all
amazing.
the horse riding is her. Her swimming is her. I guess when they're jumping from pole to pole, that is actually the extras jumping from pole to pole.
I
So
thought it was
it's,
American
I mean,
Ninja Warrior for a second.
I'm
It's like,
sure, yeah, I'm sure they're not that high, but they're jumping from pole to pole. So I mean, a lot of that stuff was these CrossFit professional athlete women who were the extras to the Amazons doing that actual stuff,
That's awesome.
which I thought was cool.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the preview, I was like, and I heard the music, I'm like, oh, this is way too happy. And I did not like it at all. When I watched the movie, it fit more. But that was my concern when I watched the previews. And I told Courtney that. She's like, I'm not listening to you. I'm like, okay.
And texted Becca said, I don't care what you have to say.
I have to admit the girl power feeling in that opening segment is just it's just like when the first movie came out. These kinds of films were never made for women with the assumption that we wouldn't dig it.
Yeah.
And to be back in that world and seeing women kicking butt and just like flying, it was exhilarating. I mean, the grin on my face was ridiculous.
Well, I don't know, but you guys, one of my favorite moments from the first one is when the Amazons stormed the beach
Oh, heck yeah.
to come after the Germans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And and that's the same feeling you get with these games with all the Amazons just there doing their thing. So,
Mhm.
But I also think that it was fundamentally a lesson that actually plays out when Diana has to let Steve go.
Yeah.
Like how
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't take the easy way.
Oh yeah.
And, because basically that's kind of what she was looking for. But it also speaks to like her character, where we're always like, well, she just has to be perfect. Well, even when she was a kid, she tried to take the easy way,
Mhm.
another way. So it shows who she is like from the beginning.
mhm.
Poor
Fair
Deb,
enough.
you're getting girl powered out over here, aren't you?
I know.
I kind of figured that with the cast that we chose for this.
Should we talk about the music?
Oh yeah.
What did we think of the music?
Half of it I loved.
It's really good stuff. I think Hans Zimmer
And
really.
half of it I was like,
Hans Zimmer went out of his.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I
Play
think they
with
definitely. I think Tia Gao was playing again on this, which is
Yeah, Tina Gao. She's amazing.
she is incredible.
Mhm.
She's actually who I think made the character as much as it is now, more than anything else since Linda Carter, honestly. And it's that cello line that she plays is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
And I wish there would have been more of that epic feel, but there wasn't. But that's my issue with it, and that's I'm a music guy.
See,
And I loved when they did the epic stuff. I did not like the filler stuff. Not me.
I got these for Christmas,
Mhm.
and I put them on and I listened to the entire soundtrack, and I could not stop freaking out.
Which
So
Rockstars is available on YouTube. They've put it on the WB has this thing called the Water Tower, which is their music channel, and they have the entire soundtrack that you can listen to, among other shows.
Should we address take a quick moment to address the controversy around the fact that Warner released the film both in theaters and digitally at the same time?
Welcome to the new world.
Mhm.
There's and really cut out a lot of the creatives in the process, did not consult anyone on it, any of the creative team, and just sort of made the decision. And I know it sort of remains to be seen how this pans out, but it's been an interesting thing to watch happen.
Yeah.
And
It's apparently broken pandemic box office records, which I'm not sure is hard to do, but it has. But it is down 85% compared to any other major opening of a superhero movie. But
they're also not tracking what's on HBO.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. I think it's really hard to quantify how that is, but I mean that's what I read this morning is that it's had the biggest box office of a pandemic released film in the theaters.
Wasn't a
I
lot.
don't know. Yeah.
But still.
Well, we don't even have theaters open in our area. Like there's I would have to drive like an hour and 15 minutes away to see it in the theater.
And that's one thing that they had. Yeah, we can. We can do that here too.
Yep.
Okay, go.
That's one thing that they were complaining about is apparently the box office. It's kind of a box office flop in Europe, but they were looking at the UK numbers, and all the theaters are closed in the UK.
Every one of them. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, it's a flop because no one can go see it.
So
and they don't
honestly,
have it on HBO Plus yet.
If anybody is using this as their analytics, they're morons. Because like you said earlier, they didn't consult the creative team, and I think at this point, the creative team that we're talking about is an oxymoron. They're not creative. They're just everything is very status quo as far as the executive types. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but I believe
she's talking about people like Patty Jenkins and.
Okay.
And
talking about the directors.
Oh no, I thought you were talking more about the executives that are.
No, I'm talking like like Chris Nolan has a whole interview about it. I'm talking Steven Soderbergh. You have to remember that a lot of these people, they're part of their contracts are tied to a percentage of box office.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're losing that whole thing. And now some of the studios like Warner came to an agreement to give Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins $10 million to be able to do this streaming release. But this is a trickle down thing because you have to remember everybody who's in it is also getting residuals. There's there's a whole structure that's in place right now for the way things have been structured, and we've already been sort of clawing our way through figuring out internet and streaming and all of that so that people get paid what they're worth. Especially because you're talking about using their face over and over and over again, So all of a sudden, the rules have changed drastically under the auspices of this is temporary, but of course we don't know yet how that will affect the future. Right. So it's a very sticky situation right now that remains to be seen how it all plays out.
Especially since WB has now made the decision to dump everything. They will be releasing all new content onto HBO Max as well as opening it into the theaters.
And at least they're pulling what they did with the Mulan. I'm so happy about that.
Now, what I think is interesting, and I don't know if any of you guys noticed when you were watching it, because I believe we all watched it on HBO Max, right?
Yes.
It's only going to be available for 31 days.
Oh, really?
For 31 days. And then they're going to pull it off. Now, what they'll do with it, what they do with it at that point in time, maybe they'll do it as
DVD release.
DVD, Blu-ray sales. Yeah. Maybe it'll go into the theater depending on, I doubt the theaters will be open to their full capacity in 31 days. Right. But you just don't know. But so I mean, that's really interesting because what Disney did with Mulan was like 3 months at the additional cost, and then it became free with your already there subscription to Disney Plus. So,
well, for me, I definitely, even if they'd have staggered it and said, okay, we're releasing it Christmas Day in the theaters, we'll release it New Year's Day, on HBO Max, I would have gone the hour and 15 minutes to see it in the theater. I still want to see it in the theater. I have a 75-inch TV, but it's still not that epic moment of the music pouring over you. So I think in a lot of ways it was a bad decision because I would have driven up to Vancouver to see it.
Well, here's the thing. I could drive 5 minutes down the street to go watch it if I wanted to. And I'm the biggest Wonder Woman fan you will ever meet. I'm not going to do it because I don't think it's safe to do so yet. Yeah. So for me, this was a better deal.
Yeah.
Because I'm still paying to watch the show.
Yeah.
I mean, would I have loved to seen it on a big screen? Oh, heck yeah. But anyways.
You know what? I want to ask you guys a question. If, let's say, we get to a point they've reopened the theaters, and if they re-release this film theatrically, would you go?
Yep.
Just to see it in theater?
Absolutely.
Me three.
Sorry.
Just to have that experience.
Just because I want to see, especially like the Amazon game scene, that needs to be seen on a big
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
The mall fight needs to be seen on a big
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
Cheetah's fight
Yeah.
toward the end, that needs to be on a big screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is a little off
I don't have a
book.
big monster screen like Christina has. I have a little one.
This is a little off book, but I'm really surprised with all of this that drive-ins have not made a major comeback.
They have in
Dub and I had-
Vegas.
Dub and
Have
I
they
have
in
talked
Vegas?
about that.
We haven't had them
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dub and I have just talked about that. We're like, we should
That's
buy
funny.
a drive-in.
We've
Right?
got one local one, but honestly, they're the movies that they're able to get a hold of right now, it just sort of seems to be such a tiny selection.
That's
And
the
then they do
one
some
problem
retro
we have
stuff.
too.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what we're having.
Let's get back on topic
To
though,
Wonder
'cause we went
Woman!
way off there. Okay,
Yes!
let me talk about my favorite moment of the movie was when it ends, and that's not as bad as it sounds. It's that end credit scene, which made me so happy. I'm like,
Did you know it was her though?
I didn't. Well,
When
no,
they show the eyes?
I didn't know it on the eyes. I knew it when they wouldn't show her face. I'm like, oh no, that is her, and that's when I knew. But
I knew it the minute they showed those eyes. I literally just went, "That's Lady Carter!"
Yes.
and with
I was
all the
so
negative,
excited. And then when she turns around at the end, I'm like, I knew it!
and with all the negative that I've said about this movie, the second I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for part 3. Get it on. I think that's the
hopefully
movie.
they
That's the
bring her
movie I want to
back.
see.
Oh, yeah.
Hope
The
so
two
too,
of them
yeah.
partnering up together. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Well, and like her line, I've been doing this a long time.
Oh,
We
And
worship at the altar of Linda Carter.
yes, we do.
Yes.
And she is still stunningly beautiful and just everything charismatic, all those wonderful things.
Still Wonder Woman.
Oh, she's still
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's still Wonder Woman.
Very much.
in her spandex tights.
Again,
but-
the best. Again, I thought the best part of the movie, and that's not a diss on anything else. It was just that good seeing that. That made me want to. I'm signed up for part 3, no matter what. After all the negative that I've said on this movie, I'm ready for part 3 with that. If they don't go with that, it will be a disservice to everyone, and I think that the movie
Yeah.
will fail.
Well, they wanted her in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted her in the first one, but her schedule because she'd been doing concerts and then she'd been doing Supergirl where she was the president of Supergirl.
Yeah.
Her schedule wouldn't allow her to do that, so they had to bypass. And I'm glad they were able to finally get her in this one because we needed her cameoed.
Can we talk about that coat that she was wearing, that gorgeous flowy blue?
Well, and then the spin.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was a Wonder Woman twirl.
That was Wonder Woman.
She Wonder Woman twirled.
No, that was everything the fan service should be. It really is.
I didn't even care if it was fan service, and I know it was fan service,
It was
and I
fan
just
service.
was like,
That's the same. But however, if this doesn't set up for the next movie, we're obviously not going to see Maxwell Lord anymore because, yeah. As much as I know a lot of people liked him, I did not like him that much in the role because I thought it was too much. I wanted to see the Cheetah, her versus Cheetah the whole time. Because it's a more interesting story to me. I really was not happy with her makeup when she became Cheetah or the CGI during that. I thought that was a bit weak, but again, I want to see more of that. That was more interesting to me than the rest of the movie, I think. And I think, hey,
that's another comic. That's
got a
another,
wishing rock? That's right, huh?
that's another comic book moment, though, where they're in the water.
Yeah.
And
we've
she's
seen that
holding
so many
she's
times.
holding Cheetah's arms down, and Cheetah's in her face going, "Never!" That's actually a panel in a couple of the So I was like, I know that comic. I read that comic.
That's both in the DC world and the Vertigo world, by the way.
Yeah.
If you really want to be a geek about it.
Yeah, but no, there's a specific Wonder Woman episode. There's a Wonder Woman comic where that panel, it's literally they just took the panel.
Yeah.
So that made me happy.
So what else did you guys love about this before we start closing up? Give me your top moment all the way around. Let's start with Christina. What was your top moment of this movie?
When she had to let him go.
Okay. Fair enough.
Just as somebody who's been in a very long-term relationship, I felt that with every core of my being. And even Sean was like, we were both super, super emotional in that moment because you knew from the very beginning that she was going to do the right thing. But the way they did that, the way they put that story so perfectly together and then ripped it apart just killed me.
Fair enough. Satomi?
I actually have to agree with Christina on that one. I thought it was so well done. It was so well played. You know, I, I can't say goodbye. I can't do it. And especially as she walks away from him and you watch her go through that process of, building up the courage to say the words, and then she starts running and you just feel all the emotions that are going on, and it's going to make me cry again.
Yeah, me too.
And then the strength that comes out of it. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
And she physically starts to change because like
Yep.
the gunshot wound she's
Yeah.
got on her arm goes away. And she's no longer, she's back to who she was. Yeah. I bawled like a baby.
Yeah. It was almost ugly cry.
Mine might have been ugly cry. I'm just gonna say, it might have been ugly cry.
Yeah, I didn't have to use my mascara remover after that. I really didn't.
Yeah.
Courtney,
How
what
about you,
about
Deb?
you?
Did you have one?
Not really.
Okay.
And I say it's
My
not that I
favorite
hated the
part was
movie.
Linda Carter showing up.
The Linda Carter is absolutely my favorite part.
There you go.
And that's probably my favorite part of the whole DC universe that we've seen so far is that moment.
Nice.
That's the movie that I want to see. And again, it was just the length thing just really threw me. So it was really hard for me to put myself in. I know everybody got into this movie. The length really just took me out of it.
That's funny because Sean actually adored it. And
I've seen Sean's beard. It's one of those things. Yeah.
Well, no, Sean usually, the funny thing is I take pictures because he always falls asleep in movies. And he said, well, as long as it's got action, I'm going to be awake. And he fell asleep through Justice League. He fell asleep through Batman versus Superman. He fell asleep.
Well, nobody blames that.
He fell asleep, in a lot of the Marvels when we watched him at home. But this one, he was like, this is a great story. And so there you have it.
Yeah.
Courtney, did you tell us your favorite moment?
No, she didn't.
No, but I was trying to make sure that we ended on a high.
I wasn't going to say anything negative at all going out, but it's all good.
I'm going to say I have two. One is where I think my favorite of them all is with you guys where she has to say goodbye because I like the transition where she rounds the corner and she leaves him behind and all you hear is I will always love you no matter where I am, and then you see her start running and then she renounces the wish and she suddenly becomes, and then she pulls out the lasso and just lassos the clouds, which I really loved. But I liked the scene in the highway in Cairo, because that's where she's starting to realize that she's losing her powers and she's still trying to save the kids. She's still trying to stop all this stuff, but she's limited by her own choice to have Steven. They haven't quite figured it out yet, but it's and like he manages to get the car to wedge, and like she's bleeding and in pain and she looks down at her own body and she doesn't even recognize herself for a minute. And I really kind of dug how they did that because she's like, I don't know what's going on. Why can't I do this?
But that scene to me was the most Wonder Woman that we got in this movie. Because that just felt like Wonder Woman to me. Not the weakness, but who she was in that was the most Wonder Woman. And that's what I love. That's the movie I want to see again. I'm not.
See, the most Wonder Woman she was to me was in that mall. Right at the
Yes.
top. It was,
when she looks at the little girl and she's like,
yes, and the little wink.
I love it. And that little girl was precious.
Yes, so cute.
Isn't she
and then like her lasso works.
15 or something now?
No, we're talking about the girl in the mall.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Oh.
The little black girl with the glasses?
Yeah, the cute.
She's on Blackish now?
Slides into the,
she's on Blackish, I think. I think she's a lot older. She just looks like her then. Okay.
He's just being a dork.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't look at IMDb this time.
It was cute. I liked it.
Okay.
I think, so The handsome man that Steve jumps into, just so everybody knows, he's a Hallmark guy.
Yep.
I was wondering.
Please
I
don't
was
make
like,
me watch
he
that.
looks so
Please don't.
familiar.
Only if the yeah, I thought. I mean, this just
That
be
comes out
randomly.
Tuesday. Yeah.
There's there was no payoff.
None.
At the
With
end.
him, no.
That's one thing I was also disappointed about. I was like, you're standing next to her. You're the guy that Steve jumped into. Can I take you to lunch, or would you like to go get a coffee? Or there's a cocoa stand over there. Do you want to go?
He was a bit of a
kinda
dweeb,
like
sorry.
that, though. Yeah, I kind of like that.
I know. I just felt if you're going to throw him in there, at least give me some payoff.
See,
Yeah.
now, honestly, if they had done the payoff, that's what would have made me go, oh, that's a little.
Oh, see, I
too
like
much
that there's
for
a different
me.
point of view on that.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, he needed Steve's personality because he had a terrible personality.
No, but I also think that she had to have that moment to let Steve go, so she actually could move forward with any other potential love interest.
Superman.
Because she really never got to let him go.
That you ever get.
She really never got to let him go in the beginning and the original Wonder Woman movie. So
yeah,
fair enough.
The movie's all about the grief process.
Okay, let's do our grades. I'm going to do mine first because mine will be the lowest, and I'm going to give it. Now I'll get to grade this twice. I'm going to say a C for how long it was. If they would have shortened it by at least, okay, I'll take my 45 away. If they would have shortened it by half an hour, I would have probably been given this a B.
Pardon me.
It just was too long, but that's just me. Okay, so. And I did myself first. I know everyone else is going to give them an A. So, Christina, what do you give this movie?
I would give it an A-. There were some scenes that didn't make sense to me that pulled it down. Otherwise, it would have been an A++. Being very technical, sometimes the fireworks scene just killed me when they were flying right through it, and I was like, "How are the fireworks not hitting the plane?"
Because it's invisible. Suspend belief.
Anyway, but I do think it could have been tightened up about 15 minutes. I wouldn't say 30, but it could have tightened it up a little bit. But I still loved it. I'm still gonna watch it as many times as I can before it leaves HBO Plus. And
fair enough. Satomi?
I'm hovering somewhere between a B+ and an A-. For the same reasons. It needed to be, the editing needed to be a little bit tighter. For me, it was about 15-20 minutes too long. And yes, the fireworks scene, I was like, who does that?
Wonder Woman and Steve, apparently.
Wonder Woman and Steve, and with zero jet noise in the cockpit, so that they can have this quiet conversation.
Not even on radar.
I was like, okay, maybe it's the invisible thing. And I will say at the moment when she was talking to everybody and Max thought he was just talking to her, I was like, how can he hear her? Because she's talking really quiet and he's still like screaming. So, but then they fixed it. And I understood it. So there were a couple things that were a little bit off for me, but it really did give me all the feels, and I will absolutely watch it again, and I will absolutely love all 2 hours and 26 minutes of it.
Well, and the fireworks scene is now my ladies' room break, so win-win.
There you go.
There you go.
Go ahead, Courtney.
I'm actually going to give it a B+. I know you got some A++++, but I mean, we talked about the couple of things that I had, and they're all kind of the same as I think everybody. A little bit too long. More Cheetah being Cheetah would have been good for me, but like Satomi, it gave me all the Wonder Woman feels that I wanted, and it made me inordinately happy both times I finished watching it. And I will watch it as many times as I can before it's off HBO, and I love it.
Fair
loved it. I
enough.
thought it was wonderful. So.
And it left you wanting more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice. But, we've been in that Wonder Woman drought for 45 years. So.
Well, they had some cartoons. And again, DC puts out the best cartoons, period. They do. They really do. Absolutely do. Shut up, Marvel boys. DC puts out the best animated. Okay. With that being said, Happy New Year, everybody. This is
Happy
coming
New
out
Year.
a
Happy
couple
New
days
Year.
before New Year's, and I hope you guys had a very merry holiday, whatever it is that you celebrate. And I am Dub, and with me is Courtney and Satomi and Christina. Keep on geeking on and throw a lasso or something.
Yes, Wonder Woman.
Nice.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.